The movie begins with a woman named Ava, driving a car while applying her lipstick, and then arriving at Paris airport. We see that she is a personal driver to a man named Peter Hamilton. She opens the door for him and tells him she's been expecting him. Peter sits in the car. She asks him, "Would you like to go straight to the convention center?" He tells him he absolutely wants to head there. Peter asks her if she is American, and she confirms that she is, mentioning that she is from Arkansas. They then start conversing with each other, telling each other about how their day went. She lies to Peter and tells him that her name is Brandy. Peter complains about how bad his day at the office went, so Ava tells him a quote to cheer him up. She says, "Count no man happy, until the end is known." This turns their conversation seamlessly into flirtation. While Ava flirts with Peter and lures him into her trap, a woman is following them on a motorcycle. Peter wants to get into Ava's pants, so he offers a deal to Ava. He tells her that they both don't know each other, and that means they can be real with each other, because they would have nothing to lose. They can have a real experience. Ava acts cocky and asks him if that deal usually works. She continues to seduce him and accepts his deal. She tells him she would like to stop the car somewhere and get in the back with him, to have a drink and see what else happens next. Ava and Peter stop by an abandoned lot. Ava quickly gets in the back seat with Peter, and he offers her alcohol, but Ava quickly refuses and reveals her true colors, as she points a gun at Peter, and asks him about what he has done wrong, for him to be targeted for assassination. Peter looks shocked, so she corrects herself about what she said earlier. She tells him that the Real quote was, "Count no man happy until he has had a good demise." At that moment, Peter thinks it's a joke by one of his friends named Ronnie. He tries to call Ronnie, but Ava warns him not to call anyone. Peter ignores her and proceeds to call, so Ava immediately confirms, by shooting at his hand, that this is no practical joke. Peter starts begging for his life and tries to bribe her. He tells her that he's in finance, so he will give her all the money she could dream of, but he does not know what he did that made someone put a target on his back. When Peter fails to provide a sufficient answer, Ava brutally executes him. Meanwhile, the girl on the motorcycle listens to their conversation from a distance, using a recording device, and drives away. Ava is contacted by her mentor Duke about the assignment. Duke has noticed in Ava's voice that something is bothering her. But Ava disregards this as nothing and informs him that she is going to Boston for personal reasons. Ava takes off her blonde wig, removes the lipstick, and soon boards a flight to Boston. The opening title illustrates a brief history of Ava, including her high-achieving past, her alcoholic down spiral, her entrance into the army, and the list of 40 targets that she has successfully executed. Finally, Ava reaches Boston, where she checks in at a hotel. Meanwhile, a man wearing a sleeveless shirt is contacted by the same organization that Ava serves. The organization tells the man to keep watch on Ava, until the time is right. After her night jogging, Ava returns to her room and watches the news about her recently assassinated target. Afterward, we can see she receives a gift from an unknown person, with stacks of money, a gun, and a passport inside the box. Later that night, she attends the mini-concert of her sister, Judy. While walking in the cold night, the sisters catch up with each other's lives, as Ava has been missing for 8 years, and has only contacted her every 6 months. Because of this, Judy has had some pent-up rage toward Ava. Judy also informs Ava that their mother is confined in the hospital, after suffering a heart attack. The following day, Ava visits her mother in the hospital. At first, she is hesitant to enter her room, only staying by the door, but her mother insists she comes in as they briefly talk to each other. The three then walk around the hospital's vast grassy field, where they reminisce about their past. Afterward, Ava receives information about her next target, a German general who is currently on a plane to Riyadh. Her role is to act flirty but classy towards the general, and she should assassinate him by making the crime scene look as if it was an accident. She also has been informed of certain details about her alias, if she is asked certain questions by the general. Ava immediately reaches Riyadh and meets with the general, pretending to be a guest, and flirts with him to find some alone time. The general invites her to his office to get some privacy. Ava eagerly accepts his invitation. They both enter the elevator to head to the general's office. The general starts a slow conversation by asking the usual formalities, but Ava cuts to the chase and tells him in Arabic to be cautious with her, in a flirtatious way. The general gets turned on and, in his office, he lies on the table, shirtless and enjoying her attentions, while Ava pleases him. However, his excitement is immediately changed when Ava injects poison into the general's foot, paralyzing him. She tells him that the poison is painless and will be effective within 15 minutes. She also informs the general that no one will suspect her, because they all will think he passed away due to a stress-related heart attack. She climbs on the table and sits next to him, to start her usual routine. Ava asks the general about the wrong thing he did. But the conversation is interrupted by the sounds of incoming officers. And because of this, Ava has no choice but to slit the general's throat, so that he can bleed out quickly, while fighting against the officers. She asks one of the officers if they came after her because she mentioned her fake name wrong earlier. The officer doesn't tell her, so she shoots him too. More officers arrive at the scene, and after a brief fight, Ava manages to escape by acting like she has been injured. After unknowingly getting a soldier's assistance to the ground floor, Ava drops a smoke bomb and promptly exits outside. She fights against dozens of armed and incoming soldiers, before finally escaping for good. Ava immediately heads to Normandy, where she meets and talks with Duke, who is fishing by the seaside. Duke tells her that her fake name was a spelling error, and that's why she got caught in the mess with the general. Ava tells him that it is not possible, and asks him if he orchestrated the botched assassination, but Duke reassures her that this is not the case, and that it was just his mistake. He apologizes to her, because he is supposed to get her in and out of these missions safely. He tells her that the management knows it was not her mistake, so she should not worry about this mission and move on. To ease her consciousness, Ava asks Duke why she was assigned to take out the general. Duke realizes that Ava is asking this because she has been, once again, asking her targets what they did wrong in life, to be assassinated. He orders her to stop asking her subjects these questions, because it won't help them survive. He asks her if she has been drinking again, but she assures him she has not. He reminds her that the last time she drank, 3 innocent people were hospitalized because of her. She tells him she only asks the targets these questions to know exactly why she is taking their lives. Duke tells her to move on from these questions and be more cautious next time. Ava acknowledges his advice, and tells him she will have a short rest from the job. Duke tells her that he's already way ahead of her, as he has already arranged for it. Ava then returns to Boston, where she is secretly observed by the man assigned to watch her. After jogging toward the hospital, she then sees her ex-fiancé Michael visiting her mother. It turns out that Michael is now dating Judy, causing Ava momentary distress. Inside their mother's room, Ava is asked to fix the television. While fixing it, the mother asks the 3 to have a nice dinner and to sometimes get together. Later that day, Ava attends a session of Alcoholics Anonymous, where she confesses about her past. She tells them that she once caught her father cheating on her mother, and that her father cried as a result. However, to save himself, his father lied about Ava stealing his money to buy drugs. After hearing this, her mother sided with her father, which is the primary reason why Ava left for the army, and never returned for 8 years. She adds that she might have murdered her father, if she had not left the place. In the next scene, Duke visits a house hidden in the forest, where he meets up with Simon, another assassin whom Duke has personally recruited and trained. Simon furiously tells Duke that Ava has been breaking protocol by asking her victims about what they have done. It is then revealed that the woman on the motorcycle earlier is Simon's daughter, who is also an assassin. After Duke implores Simon not to eliminate Ava, and just let her rest for a while, Simon has no choice but to accept. He then tells Duke to leave his house. After Duke has left, he then tells his daughter that Ava is a danger to the organization, which is why he is planning to end her in Riyadh without telling Duke. He then tells his daughter to contact and inform the man observing Ava that he is now free to remove her. At night, Ava is attacked by that man while she is jogging. After a brief clash, Ava manages to outplay and end the man in the park's fountain. Due to the attack, Ava immediately confronts Duke the next day, threatening him for information about what happened last night. Duke reassures her that he's not planning to have her eliminated, and asks Ava to trust him. Ava feels a fatherly kind of love from Duke, which brings her to tears. She then leaves the scene, deciding to trust Duke. Afterward, Ava, Judy, and Michael are having dinner at a restaurant. At first, Ava seems to be out of it, but they eventually interact with each other. However, the evening turns sour, when Michael informs Ava about something that Judy has personally told him. Judy is not pleased with this, and their conversation descends into an argument. Then, Ava's comment about how weird it is to be in a restaurant, where they have so many memories together, is the final nail in the coffin. After hearing this, Judy storms out of the place, leaving the two ex-lovers at the table. Michael then tells Ava that she cannot just return out of nowhere and suddenly fix everything. After saying his piece, Michael also leaves the table, leaving Ava alone. Ava then returns to her hotel room and goes to sleep in her bed. Suddenly, she hears a loud knock on her door. Out of instinct, she immediately wakes up with a gun in her hand, but after learning that it is her sister, Ava quickly hides the gun and talks to her. Judy informs her that Michael has not returned home. Judy then decides to leave, because she does not trust her sister, but Ava insists on her innocence to Judy, and asks if she knows where Michael could be found. Ava then connects the dots in her mind, correctly concluding that Michael is gambling again. But she tells her sister that she does not know Michael's whereabouts. Then, Ava heads toward the hidden gambling place. She encounters Michael gambling with Tony, an old friend of hers. Ava tells Michael that they are leaving, because Judy is searching for him, but Tony does not let them go. A fight breaks out, in which Ava quickly suppresses the attackers. She then points a knife at Tony's neck, holding her hostage until they can peacefully leave the place. Before leaving, she tells Tony to give her 36 hours to pay Michael's debt outside. Michael confronts Ava about her eccentric moves, but Ava refuses to talk about it. Michael then angrily tells her that she just disappeared for 8 years, right after accepting his proposal of marriage. Ava attempts to comfort Michael, but Michael flinches away from her touch. He then tells Ava that he has asked Judy to marry him, and that Judy has already accepted it. Because of this, Ava leaves, visibly heartbroken. Ava attempts to drink alcohol again upon returning to the hotel, to ease her burden, but she stops herself, just smelling the glass of whiskey instead. Meanwhile, Duke returns to Simon's house. Simon happily talks to him, but Duke straightforwardly asks if he ordered Ava's assassination. Simon confirms this, telling Duke that he's not his master anymore. Duke then points a gun toward Simon, and Simon's daughter also pulls out her gun. This tension is briefly stopped when Simon's other daughter arrives to greet her uncle Duke. After the other daughter leaves the scene, Duke immediately disarms Simon's daughter, and Simon retaliates by charging at his former mentor. Their battle rages for a while, with Simon telling his daughter not to interfere in their fight. After a considerable time fighting, Simon emerges as the winner, stabbing and finally suppressing his old master. Ava goes to her mother's house, inviting her to a game of cards. While playing, her mother confesses to her daughter that she actually knew about her husband's illicit affairs, but chose her husband over her daughter, because she did not want to be alone in life. She then adds that she sees something in Ava's eyes, that says she will not repeat the same mistakes that her mother made. Meanwhile, Simon takes Duke to the lake, where he tells Duke that he will personally go to Boston to end Ava's life. He then asks Duke if he has anything to say to Ava, and Duke replies that he feels sorry for being unable to witness how she'll defeat Simon. Simon then takes a picture of Duke and makes a video of him plunging into the lake. Later that night, Simon contacts Ava, to introduce himself as another one of Duke's students. He then informs Ava that he has murdered their mentor, infuriating Ava. He ends the call with Duke's final message for Ava. Afterward, she receives the pictures and video of Duke's final moments. Ava heads to Judy's house, but all she sees is Michael. She then steals a kiss from Michael's lips, asking him to leave together. Michael then informs her that Judy is pregnant, sending her deeper into despair, perhaps to vent out her anger. Ava goes to Tony's club and eradicates the guards there. She then lets Tony punch her a few times in the face, telling herself that when she kissed Michael without thinking about the consequences, she realized just then how powerful she was. She then chokes Tony, but decides to spare her, telling her that they are now even, due to all the recent events. Ava goes home, defeated, and looks at the tiny bottles of alcohol that rest in her fridge. After trying to fight the urge, Ava finally succumbs to the poisonous pleasure of alcohol, and just like that, she returns to what she had managed to stop for 8 long years. Unable to cope with the events, she then takes out her gun and tries to shoot herself with it, pointing it at her head, but fails to pull the trigger. Suddenly, Simon enters the room. What follows is a great battle between the two, showcasing their fighting skills to each other in a sequential manner. The fight ends in a tie, with Simon leaving the room. However, Ava is not satisfied, so she decides to follow Simon, with the intention of ending him. Just like that, their roles have reversed, with Ava now planning to attack Simon while following him, stalking him like helpless prey. After a long while, Ava finally catches Simon, with Simon understanding that she really wants to end him. So, after making sure that his family will not get hurt, Simon allows his execution, at the count of 5. Ava agrees to this, but she fires at 1. Afterward, she heads back to her sister's house, giving her money in a passport so that they can leave the country. Michael then gives Ava a letter from an unknown person, in what might be their final conversation. Judy asks Ava who she really is, but Ava does not answer. The film ends with Ava reading the letter, that is actually from Duke, in which he wants Ava to know that he is happy with how his life turned out. While walking away, Ava is being followed by Simon's daughter, hinting at a possible sequel.